This is the finale of the coverage of the presidential debate between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. At the end of the video, I will do a full summary on what I thought each candidate's strong points and weak points were.
President Trump.
No, the
President
former
Trump
president has said something twice that I need to respond to.
I'm sorry. We're going to move on, Vice President Harris.
President
Trump, this is now your third time running for president. You have long vowed to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. You have failed to accomplish that. You now say you're going to keep Obamacare, quote, unless we can do something much better. Last month, you said, quote, we're working on it. So tonight, 9 years after you first started running, do you have a plan, and can you tell us what it is?
Oof, that was like the best question from the moderators that night. He has 9 years, and his answer was terrible. You know, like at the end of the fourth quarter when the match was really close right up to the end, and then the other team gets like a pick six and they're up by 17, and there's only about 3 minutes left, like you know the game is over. When he said we have concepts of a plan, that was the moment he lost.
Obamacare was lousy health care, always was. It's not very good today. And what I said, that if we come up with something, and we are working on things, we're going to do it and we're going to replace it. But remember this, I inherited Obamacare because Democrats wouldn't change it. They wouldn't vote for it. They were unanimous. They wouldn't vote to change it. If they would have done that, we would have had a much better plan than Obamacare. But the Democrats came up, they wouldn't vote for it. I had a choice to make when I was president. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be? Never going to be great. Or do I let it rot? And I felt I had an obligation, even though politically it would have been good to just let it rot and let it go away. I decided, and I told my people, the top people, and they're very good people. I have a lot of good people in that administration. We read about the bad ones. We had some real bad ones too, and so do they. They have really bad ones. The difference is they don't get rid of them. But let me just explain. I had a choice to make. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, or do I let it rot? And I saved it. I did the right thing. But it's still never going to be great, and it's too expensive for people. And what we will do is we're looking at different plans. If we can come up with a plan that's going to cost our people, our population, less money and be better health care than Obamacare, then I would absolutely do it. But until then, I'd run it as good as it can be run.
So just a yes or no, you still do not have a plan?
I have concepts of a plan. I'm not president right now. But if we come up with something, I would only change it if we come up with something that's better and less expensive. And there are concepts and options we have to do that.
President Harris, in 2017, you supported Bernie Sanders' proposal to do away with private insurance and create a government-run healthcare system. 2 years later, you proposed a plan that included a private insurance option. What is your plan today?
Well, first of all, I absolutely support, and over the last 4 years as vice president, private healthcare
She wasn't asking about the past 4 years. She was asking the evolution between 2017 and 2024.
options. But what we need to do is maintain and grow the Affordable Care Act. But I'll get to that, Lindsay. I just need to respond to a previous point that the former president has made. I've made very clear my position on fracking. And then this business about taking everyone's guns away. Tim Walz and I are both gun owners. We're not taking anybody's guns away. So stop with the continuous lying about this stuff.
Those are two issues she has flip-flopped on quite a bit. The only one I can mark as incorrect, though, is she made her position clear on fracking. She has not.
As it relates to the Affordable Care Act, understand, just look at the history to know where people stand. When Donald Trump was president, 60 times he tried to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. 60 times. I was a senator at the time. When I will never forget the early morning hours when it was up for a vote in the United States Senate, and the late, great John McCain, who you have disparaged as being, you don't like him, you said, at the time because he got caught. He was an American hero. The late, great John McCain, I will never forget that night.
So for me, this was Kamala Harris's greatest response. And that was an absolutely legendary, historic moment from John McCain. He was a Republican senator from Arizona. The Republicans needed every vote to repeal Obamacare. McCain ran against Obama in 2008 and absolutely despised Obamacare. Now, fast forward to 2017, it's obvious that it's his last term. He was just diagnosed with brain cancer, and he's in his 80s. After being pestered by Senators Mitch McConnell, Mike Pence, just for 16 hours all day, 1:30 in the morning, he comes out on the Senate floor and does this.
Mr. Peters. Mr.
So McCain walks out waits for the guy to stop talking, waits for him to look at him, and then puts his thumb down, signaling that he's voting no. He made sure to stand in front of the majority leader, Mitch McConnell, to do so. Looks McConnell right in his eyes, turns around and walks away, completely destroying McConnell's work to try to repeal Obamacare. This is why when he casts his no vote, you can hear an audible gasp in the room, because there was a lot of drama that was playing out. McCain then said, "From the beginning, I have believed that Obamacare should be repealed and replaced with a solution that increases competition, lowers costs, and improves care for American people. The so-called skinny repeal amendment the Senate voted on today would not accomplish those goals."
Walked onto the Senate floor and said, "No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't get rid of the Affordable Care Act. You have no plan." And what the Affordable Care Act has done is eliminate the ability of insurance companies to deny people with pre-existing conditions. I don't have to tell the people watching tonight, you remember what that was like? Remember when an insurance company could deny if a child had asthma, if someone was a breast cancer survivor, if a grandparent had diabetes? And thankfully, as I've been vice president, and we over the last 4 years have strengthened the Affordable Care Act, we have allowed for the first time Medicare to negotiate drug prices on behalf of you, the American people. Donald Trump said he was going to allow Medicare to negotiate drug prices. He never did. We did. And now we have capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month. Since I've been vice president, we have capped the cost of prescription medication for seniors at $2,000 a year. And when I am president, we will do that for all people, understanding that the value I bring to this is that access to health care should be a right and not just a privilege of those who can afford it. And the plan has to be to strengthen the Affordable Care Act, not get rid of it,
Vice
pass his
President
prologue
Harris,
in terms
you.
of where Donald Trump stands on that.
I want to.
So for me, this was like the pick six late in the fourth quarter after a really close match the entire night. Like, this is what she needed to put away this debate. The fact that he said, "I only have concepts of a plan" after 9 years. And that being her single best response of the night.
Move to an issue that's important for a lot
She made a mistake. At number one, John McCain fought Obamacare for 10 years. But it wasn't only him. It were all of the Democrats that kept it going. And you know what? We can do much better than Obamacare, much less money. But she won't improve private insurance for people, private medical insurance. That's another thing she doesn't want to get. People are paying privately for insurance that have worked hard and made money, and they want to have private. She wants everybody to be on government insurance where you wait 6 months for an operation that you need immediately.
President Trump.
She has flopped on the issue, but over the course of 7 years, it's well known that she supports private as well.
Thank you. We have another issue that we'd like to get to that's important for a number of Americans, in particular younger voters, and that's climate change. President Trump, with regard to the environment, you say that we have to have clean air and clean water. Vice President Harris, you call climate change an existential threat. The question to you both tonight is, what would you do to fight climate change? And Vice President Harris, we'll start with you. 1 minute for you each.
Well, the former president had said the climate change is a hoax. And what we know is that it is very real. You ask anyone who lives in a state who has experienced these extreme weather occurrences, who now is either being denied home insurance or it's being jacked up. You ask anybody who has been the victim of what that means in terms of losing their home, having nowhere to go. We know that we can actually deal with this issue. The young people of America care deeply about this issue. And I am proud that as vice president over the last 4 years, we have invested $1 trillion in a clean energy economy, while we have also increased domestic gas production to historic levels. We have created over 800,000 new manufacturing jobs while I have been vice president.
So this is something that we fact-checked earlier. I'm not going to fact this one as another lie. It's just the same lie repeated.
We have invested in clean energy to the point that we are opening up factories around the world. Donald Trump said he was going to create manufacturing jobs. He lost manufacturing jobs.
That was another lie repeated. She said that at the beginning of the debate.
And I'm also proud to have the endorsement of the United Auto Workers and Sean Fain, who also know that part of building a clean energy economy includes investing in American-made products, American automobiles. It includes growing what we can do around American manufacturing and opening up auto plants, not closing them like happened under Donald Trump.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
It didn't happen under Donald Trump. Let me just tell you, they lost 10,000 manufacturing jobs. this last month. It's going, they're all leaving. They're building big auto plants in Mexico, in many cases owned by China. They're building these massive plants, and they think they're going to sell their cars into the United States because of these people. What they have given to China is unbelievable. But we're not going to let that. We'll put tariffs on those cars so they can't come into our country, because they will kill the United Auto Workers and any auto worker, whether it's in Detroit or South Carolina or any other place. What they've done to business and manufacturing in this country is horrible. We have nothing because they refuse. You know, Biden doesn't go after people because supposedly China paid him millions of dollars. He's afraid to do it. Between him and his son, they get all this money from Ukraine. They get all this money from all of these different countries. And then you wonder, why is he so loyal to this one, that one, Ukraine, China? Why is he? Why did he get $3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow's wife? Why did she pay him $3.5 million? This is a crooked administration, and they're selling our country down the tube.
Well, Trump himself pointed out earlier in the debate that Biden kept the Trump tariffs. And then I had pointed out that he had actually added more. So on paper, he was tougher on China.
Treat down the tubes.
President Trump, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be right back with closing statements from both of our candidates. An historic night, this ABC News presidential debate from Philadelphia. Back in a moment.
Finally. Oh, my God.
Welcome back tonight. The time has come for closing statements. And Vice President Harris, we begin with you.
So I think you've heard tonight two very different visions for our country. One that is focused on the future, and the other that is focused on the past, and an attempt to take us backward. But we're not going back. And I do believe that the American people know we all have so much more in common than what separates us, and we can chart a new way forward. And a vision of that includes having a plan, understanding the aspirations, the dreams, the hopes, the ambition of the American people, which is why I intend to create an opportunity economy, investing in small businesses, in new families, in what we can do around protecting seniors, what we can do that is about giving hardworking folks a break and bringing down the cost of living. I believe in what we can do together that is about sustaining America's standing in the world and ensuring that we have the respect that we so rightly deserve, including respecting our military and ensuring we have the most lethal fighting force in the world. I will be a president that will protect our fundamental rights and freedoms, including the right of a woman to make decisions about her own body and not have her government tell her what to do. I'll tell you, I started my career as a prosecutor. I was a DA, I was an attorney general, a United States senator, and now vice president. I've only had one client, the people. And I'll tell you, as a prosecutor, I never asked a victim or a witness, are you a Republican or a Democrat? The only thing I ever asked them, are you okay? And that's the kind of president we need right now. Someone who cares about you and is not putting themselves first. I intend to be a president for all Americans and focus on what we can do over the next 10 and 20 years to build back up our country by investing right now in you, the American people.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump?
So she just started by saying she's going to do this, she's going to do that, she's going to do all these wonderful things. Why hasn't she done it? She's been there for 3.5 years. They've had 3.5 years to fix the border. They've had 3.5 years to create jobs and all the things we talked about. Why hasn't she done it? She should leave right now, go down to that beautiful White House, go to the Capitol, get everyone together and do the things you want to do, but you haven't done it and you won't do it because you believe in things that the American people don't believe in. You believe in things like we're not going to frack. We're not going to take fossil fuel. We're not going to do things that are going to make this country strong, whether you like it or not. Germany tried that, and within 1 year, they were back to building normal energy plants. We're not ready for it. We can't sacrifice our country for the sake of bad vision. But I just ask one simple question. Why didn't she do it? We're a failing nation. We're a nation that's in serious decline. We're being laughed at all over the world. All over the world, they're laughed. I know the leaders very well. They're coming to see me. They call me. We're laughed at all over the world. They don't understand what happened to us as a nation. We're not a leader. We don't have any idea what's going on. We have wars going on in the Middle East. We have wars going on with Russia and Ukraine. We're going to end up in a third world war, and it'll be a war like no other because of nuclear weapons, the power of weaponry. I rebuilt our entire military. She gave a lot of it away to the Taliban. She gave it to Afghanistan. What these people have done to our country, and maybe toughest of all, is allowing millions of people to come into our country. Many of them are criminals, and they're destroying our country. The worst president, the worst vice president in the history of our country.
President Trump, thank you.
We made it, folks. We finally made it. So as you can see, Trump lied a lot more than Kamala Harris. But Kamala Harris's lies went unnoticed. Now, part of Trump's problem is that he talks in like absolute terms. I had the greatest economy. They had the worst inflation. When you can actually sit there and pull up the worst time for inflation or the best time for the economy. And at neither point was he correct. He also has horrible sources. A source he actually used in a debate is a man on TV. They're eating the dogs. I don't know. I heard it on TV. As far as Kamala Harris, her strength is the fact that Trump is her opponent. Her weakness is whoever's writing her scripted answers. They don't even sound like they're from Kamala Harris. And when she's talking, it's like, what? This is so disingenuous. She was calling him every name under the sun and even making faces at him at one point, but then turned around and was like, the American people want to hear about their problems. They don't want to hear us fighting. They don't want to hear us name-calling. The clear winner of this debate was Kamala Harris. The only reason why she won the debate was the fact that Trump was her opponent. Like any other Republican opponent, even a bad one, you can even put like Ron DeSantis up there, and he would have had no problem beating her in that debate. CNN tried saying Trump lied 33 times, and Kamala Harris lied only once. You can watch any 60 seconds of this, 7-part series, and you can see that that is not true at all. So I didn't count the repeat lies, like I said in the past couple of videos. But my count was Trump lied 24 times. Kamala Harris lied 21 times. That might be a hard pill for Democrats to swallow, especially the ones that just pop up once every 4 years. But yeah, both sides of the political aisle lie. It's not just the Republicans. I'm glad to be done with this. I'm gonna go debate Charlie Kirk now.